So what is your most favorite thing about being an entrepreneur now?
Doing it with you.
Oh.
Doing it with you.
Okay.
I figured that I will ask our fans about
1, 2,
that.
3, kaboom! I don't know.
Okay, so here we are.
Yep.
Saturday night.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
If you made it here, congratulations and thank you. And shout out to our 30 new subscribers. We appreciate all of you guys for watching our stuff.
Spread the word.
Yeah.
And special shout out to our editor.
Ooh.
First week on the job, JV. Great job.
Great job.
Actually, as you notice, we have something new.
Mm-hmm.
The backdrop.
Yep.
Per JV's recommendation. So maybe our master editor can do a little before and after of our backdrop.
That's true. I would love to see eventually a montage of like all of our crazy backdrops and the way we look and all that stuff, but that's for another day. I think today, though, we're going to talk about something a little different, right?
Yeah, so let's see. It was the intro one last episode.
Yes, we said hello.
This is GK Ventures,
Mm-hmm.
Gregory,
And Kayla.
and I think today we want to continue on our journey.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of talked about what made us start a business.
Yeah.
And I think it's super cool because, you know, I think as a couple, we like dated.
I mean, we still are dating.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I
Good-
at least
good
hope
luck.
we
Yeah.
are.
And then we were able to travel the world together, which is another kind of testament of being, well, actually, no, live together first,
That's true.
right? Because, you know, you learn things from someone by living with them.
He snores.
And then we traveled the world
Yes, we did.
and slept at airports.
Ooh.
A lot of stressful situations, just
Yeah.
like catching flights and everything like that. And now we're, I think from those things that made me comfortable with thinking, oh, actually, you know, one more piece made me comfortable about this is like understanding finances together.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yes. Can I just take a moment to talk
Yes,
about that?
please,
Because
please.
that was a huge thing in my life. I feel like I didn't really get that kind of financial education like growing up. And, you know, once I would get money, it'd be out of my hand. And then he showed up and was like, here, this is how you budget. This is how you keep track of things.
Let me put on
and
my glasses.
yeah, it was like the first time he showed me like how much I would spend in a day. I was like, holy smokes, that's crazy. So yeah, he's really helped me a lot, Gregory here, on my financial journey. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being so frugal, so accepting. And I think that's kind of key in like relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like studies that one of the major reasons people kind of argue is because of finances.
Yeah.
So I think it's fortunate that both of us are very open about both of our finances, and so much so that we do it once a month.
Yeah, we're really lucky in that regard. It's not easy for everyone, and I don't honestly blame them because it can be stressful, even with us. Like there are times where, you know, I put it on the wrong card, or I put it in the wrong bank account, or, you know, whatever. And, you know, I think we get through it still, but there are definitely times where, you know, but
We out here.
we out here and it's made us stronger, I would say.
So that all of those things like living with you, traveling the world, and finances are relatively stable. Let me ask you, have you ever, before this, right? Before me, have you ever thought of actually starting your own business?
Yeah, totally. That was something that I knew I was going to do at some point in my life. Actually, before we met, I had this whole resale, like it wasn't really a business. It was kind of just like a little side hustle that I would do because, you know, I was like a broke college student. I need a little extra money. And, you know, I would like resell some of my stuff, and like growing up, I would see like my dad like resell like and like kind of flip things, I guess, like with car parts and cars and things. So I knew from a young age that like I wanted to make my own money somehow, and I knew it was possible. I just didn't know how I was going to do it and what kind of business. So yes,
Really?
to answer it shortly. How about you? Did you ever know?
I don't think so growing up. I never really understood like starting their own business or
Yeah.
like what entrepreneurship really is. And I think I just grew up in the whole go get a 9-to-5 job.
Ah,
You know,
yeah, that's okay.
The concept of someone owning a business didn't really make sense to me or didn't register, which is
Interesting.
counterintuitive, right? Because the whole world revolves around business in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I had a really good job,
Yeah.
something I loved,
Extremely blessed.
paid really well. And anyway, yeah, so no, I did it growing up, but you know, and we're going to talk about a few folks here that kind of inspired me along the way. And over the past 10 years or so, while I was working on my 9-to-5 job, I knew that what they did, but I didn't really appreciate that journey until recently.
I could see that, yeah. You don't know until you've walked a mile in someone else's shoes.
So did you, even though you knew you wanted to have a business growing up, did you think like you were going to go eventually after college, go to a 9-to-5, or did you think you're going to start your own business, or like start out 9-to-5 and then start a business?
That's a really good question. I think, you know, a part of me knew that I was going to start my own business, but I think for the most part, the path to start a business as a young person was always, oh, you have to go to school and you have to go to work first. Like, get that experience in the real world, working for someone else, and then go start your own business. So that's what I thought. That was what my assumption was, honestly. So I think my original plan was like, oh, yeah, well, because I don't know what I want to go into business for, I'm just going to go into the world and work for someone else and see if I can get inspired from that. And, you know, I don't think that's a bad choice. I think that's, you know, everyone's got their own path to business, but I'm kind of glad that I shortened my stay with a 9-to-5, because I think I've learned a lot more, a lot faster in a business setting where it's like forcing me. So, yeah.
I agree. I mean, you know, I spent a decade or more in the aerospace industry, and it's a different skill set, obviously. And when I, you know, saw friends like Louis and Thomas, shout out to Louis and Thomas, you know, they're just kind of building their business over like 5 or 8 years, and I never really understood like what do you actually do? Yeah. And now I kind of get it, because it's really hard to even explain everything. Like, there's a lot of little bits and pieces which we'll talk about on this channel. And it's like, if someone asks you like, how did you get here, or what are you doing now? It's hard to appreciate it unless you've gone through it or you're going through it.
Absolutely.
Right? Like starting an LLC, or like building up a team, or like even the beginning, when probably in the next episode we'll talk about how we ended up to what we're doing today. But it's like, okay, I want to start a business, right? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
totally.
let's do food, or let's do clothing, or whatever. Like, usually, I think when people think of like an entrepreneur, like at least I thought of as like Shark Tank. It's like, oh yeah, so we have to make a product, right? So anyway.
Yeah, that's really insightful. Do you think, a moment that stands out, like, or a singular influence that made you really have that turnaround moment and going, oh wait, business is for me?
I paused because I was ready to answer the first 75% of that question. So for the second quarter of that question, I don't know yet if business is for me. But to answer your question, I think Chris and Paulo. Yeah. I think were they the catalyst. Same. Shout out Wealth Gambit. Everyone follow Wealth Gambit.
True that.
Also, we should get in the rhythm. Don't forget to like, subscribe,
and hit that bell notification.
We'll do that one more time because I like JV's little animation.
Ooh, he did so good. He did so good.
We'll refine that throughout the weeks. But anyway, yeah, so 9-to-5 in the past decade, I had friends like Louis and Thomas who did entrepreneurship. And then we befriended Chris and Paulo. Yes. And they're very close to us. Yes. And seeing them execute this over the past 1 or 2 years has been very inspiring. Yeah. And I remember like a common piece of advice is like, find a mentor in anything in life. But I think there's a subtlety to that I only learned in the past few months, which is you want to find a relatable mentor. Right? Like if you want to do business, you can't be like, Jeff Bezos, let me be my mentor.
No, he's at an entirely different place. Yeah, obviously.
And I think Iman is in one of Iman's videos where he was like, find a relatable mentor. Yeah. So like find someone who's within 1 to 5 years of what you're doing. Yeah. And Chris and Paul are like 1 or 2 years.
They are. They have been definitely our gospel, our guide, and they deserve a huge shout out because they are going through the trenches. And man, I don't think we would be here, honestly, without them. They're a huge help.
So thanks, Chris and Paulo. Everybody subscribe to Wealth Gambit.
That's true.
Okay, so how about you? Like, at what point were you like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go do this entrepreneur journey?
Well, there are 2 moments in my life where that happened. The first one was when I got my first job, honestly.
First job after college?
No, like when I was in high school.
Oh,
I started,
okay.
like, just to give you context, I started working when I was in high school. And my first job was through this program that the city of Las Vegas put together that was basically to help, high schoolers get jobs, that give them personal, professional training and put them into a more realistic workplace setting. And I got put into PBS, the local channel, or the local building here for PBS, and I was working with workforce development. So basically they had like classes on, how to become certified as basically anything. They had thousands of classes, and I remember having to get up like so early in the morning, drag myself down there, and basically sit in a cubicle all day. And I think I just instinctually just despised that setting, like everything about it. I will say though, if that is for you, more power to you. I think, not everyone, can do or wants to do an entrepreneurial journey, and that's okay. So if you have a cube job, go for it. And if you love it, that's great. It was just not for me personally. And that was the first moment where I was like, I could just work for myself and work anywhere.
Right.
And, that kind of thought persisted through the many different jobs that I'd had.
Wait, so you realized at that point that you could work from anywhere?
Well, maybe not about working from anywhere. I think that realization came later, along with COVID. Yeah. But there's definitely a sense of I could be my own boss and I don't have to sit in this cube farm, basically. Right. I knew I really didn't like that. So I kind of got the first inkling there. And then it continued to grow as the people in my life kind of showed me that, there was a different path that you could take. And then, once we got together and we started, you introduced me to Chris and Paulo, and they're doing their whole entrepreneurial journey. I was like, wow, this is, attainable.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
There's a way that you can do it from anywhere. That was when the from anywhere really set in and was
when we were traveling.
Yeah, when we were traveling, when we could see them traveling and building a business, it made a lot of sense. So I think those are the two big moments that I was like, oh yeah, I like this. I can do this. So
cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. Do you think, looking back now that you're in this entrepreneur journey, do you regret doing your 9 to 5? Because you had more of a structured job. Yeah. So would you go back and change anything?
I don't think so. And I think I'm just really fortunate. It's cliche, but people say you should find something you love to do. Mm-hmm. And I think I was fortunate enough that the first 10 years of my career, it didn't really feel like work because it was so awesome.
I was very lucky. And
it's not really until I step out of work and I talk to friends or family who are doing their jobs, and it seems like they hated life. And I was like, oh, maybe I do have a sweet job. And maybe that's why I started later in life, and that's why I didn't really pay attention to my friends who were doing entrepreneurship, because it was I became complacent really. And I think that's the reason why I'm so intrigued now, because there's phases in my life. Yeah. And this is the next new challenge, right? It's a new thing. I've been doing engineering for the past 10, 12 years, so it's time for a change. Yeah. And why not? Worst case, I go back to my dream job, right? So
that's true. Well, that's really cool to hear. I think I'm going to just ask you some rapid fire questions then now.
All right, let's do it.
About how you're currently feeling, because you have recently joined us in the ranks of entrepreneurship. Woo! Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what is your most favorite thing about being an entrepreneur now?
Doing it with you.
Oh!
Doing it with you.
Okay.
But I think in general I love learning, and so it's just everything is new. It's different from what I did in my 9 to 5 job. Just trying to figure stuff out, and when I see Chris and Paulo do stuff, right, they get resourceful and creative, right?
Yeah, even just very good at that.
Oh, we don't have enough money to do this because it's a startup, so find a cheaper alternative or a more creative way to do these things. Yeah. Just the newness of this, and doing it with you, and having kind of Chris and Paulo as people that can help us along the way.
So sweet.
Oh, thank you. Thank
amazing. You. Okay, now to flip the coin. What is your least favorite thing about entrepreneurship?
I think ambiguity. That's right. Right. But I think it's kind of both appealing and not. It's like the idea of like, are we going to make it?
Yeah,
But
definitely.
But also there's this mindset, right? It's like, we're going to fucking make it. Like,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
it's almost
we are going to make it.
with the amount of work we're doing, it doesn't seem like that much work will go to waste. So
I agree.
how about you? What's your favorite and least favorite thing?
My favorite thing about being an entrepreneur, I should say, sounds weird, but like when I worked at, in my normal 9-to-5er, I had so much anxiety about opening up Slack, like hearing that like
Ooh,
bing,
yeah.
or that tuk tuk tuk. I just would get immediately like anxiety through the roof. I was just like, I hated that.
Yeah,
so I think losing that is really nice. And then the idea of being able to choose what you want to do every single day and not having someone else go, well, hey, there are these deadlines that you got to do and these KPIs. Like, I set that. So the sky is truly the limit, I think. And I think it's cool too, because with that, the learning potential is just so high.
Yeah.
You can learn whatever you want, basically.
That's ironic, the first part, because in a way, I think we are working more.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And we don't currently have you can do whatever you want. In a way, we can.
Yeah.
Like now we're able to go to the gym earlier. We don't have to wake up at like 6 or 7 to get ready and go to work.
That's true.
But in general, I think we put in more hours. I think.
I would say so.
And I think we both accept that it's delayed gratification, right? Because eventually the thought is we'll scale and grow the business. There'll be more people working for us, and eventually we can just take our hands off and then actually live that life.
Absolutely.
But I think that's what drives me too, is like the thought of having that in the future.
Yeah.
So.
Freedom, basically.
Okay. How about the thing that you hate the most?
There are a lot of like little day-to-day, like kind of like, oh gosh, this is hard, but
Gregory micromanaging.
We're learning. Honestly, that's kind of a difficult one for me to answer. I think there is a slight anxiety about like, not getting a paycheck, basically. A fat paycheck, by the way, like every single week or every other week. You know what I mean? There is something about like a 9-to-5 having that stability that is really comforting, whereas this can be a little unnerving at times where you're like, I see my runway like going down and I'm like, I know it's gonna end at some point, so I need to make something happen between now and then. But I wouldn't even consider that a bad thing, to be honest with you, or something that I dislike. It's just something that makes me slightly uneasy at times.
Yeah. It's ironic because I think we both of us have come from a pretty decent sized paycheck.
Yeah, I would
like
say
a
so.
regular paycheck. And it's good and bad, because it's good in the sense that we've saved up enough to be comfortable for 6 to 12 months maybe.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
But that same thing is bad, because I think the thing that makes some people successful in this entrepreneurship is that they know they need to survive, basically.
Yes, definitely. And I remember, like, before we got into this, there was always this situation where it's like, if someone has money, they become more anxious because they're so afraid of losing that money. And I didn't really ever think I was going to be that person, because I did not really count or take care of my spending that well. But now that I have a reserve, I definitely get more anxious about losing that, more than I thought I would. So that's kind of been interesting, and I think I'm trying to work my way through it. But I
mean, that's going to be part of the goals, right? It's like, I strive for not mansions or cars.
No.
I just want to live super comfortably. And just basic stuff. I mean, we're pretty frugal too,
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that just seeing some of our friends go to a farmer's market.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. Yeah.
Paying for apples that are, I don't know, 5 or 10 times more expensive, nothing.
Yeah, I know. That was amazing.
Super cool.
That was really eye-opening, I think, for both of us.
And just going to their place, and they had really expensive hand soap. But I'm sure that's just day in a life for
that
them,
was so nice, though.
And so,
oh my gosh,
it's really I mean, we don't live that poorly, but
no, we are. I would say, all things considered, we are extremely blessed.
Yeah.
And frugal, but I would say extremely blessed.
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Anyway,
Indeed.
we're at 20 minutes. I think this is a good episode here. A good duration for an episode. We'll get longer and longer. We'll babble.
Do you want to talk about Growwise at all before we go?
No, let's save that for another time.
All right, sounds good. Keep
Growwise,
the people in
exactly.
suspense a little bit.
We gotta hook them in.
Oh, I see. Okay,
But
cool.
if you guys have suggestions for things you want to hear on the next few episodes,
Yes.
leave that in the comments and we will engage with you because we have 30 of you fans out there.
That's true. I saw you, Bliss Hunter,
Bliss Hunter.
commenting on our last video. Thank you for that.
Before we go,
Yeah.
don't forget to like, subscribe.
Hit that bell notification.
All right.
Yeah, well,
we're gonna have to think of a sign off at some point.
we do. We need a better sign off, and we need a better little intro vibe. But we're getting there.
Exactly. We need an intro. We need an outro. We need to do call to actions.
Yes.
All the standard YouTube stuff. Then we get like little animations that JV will start putting up.
We're getting there. One day at a time, one recording at a time. But if you've made it this far into this video, into our babbling, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for clicking on this video. And again, we're excited to bring you on this journey and share our lives with you. But
Absolutely.
thank you so much for recording with me today.
Yeah, thank you. I want to do the peace thing that you did before.
Okay, go for it.
So, wait,
So-
how does it go?
What did I even say?
All right, we'll see you guys later.
See you in the next one.
Then like I tried to do.
Well, I think I was like, okay, and in the next one, like, you gotta do the peace thing.
I did do the peace thing.